The unseen signal. The silence of space was usually a comforting thing. It was vast, endless, and calm. But on this day, something broke that silence, sending ripples across the fabric of the universe. The signal was faint at first, like a whisper on the edge of hearing. Yet it carried an urgency that no one could ignore. It came from deep within the cosmos, far beyond the boundaries of known space. At the heart of the United Earth Space Command, the alert blared through the control room. The screen displayed nothing more than a series of strange numbers and symbols. They seemed random, but the pattern was undeniable. Something was out there, trying to reach them. Lieutenant Sarah Evans, a communications officer, sat frozen in her chair, staring at the screen. The signal was unlike anything she had ever seen. There were no identifiable origins, no ships, no known species, nothing that could explain its appearance. It was just there, a mystery that sent a chill down her spine. "Lieutenant Evans," came a voice from behind her. It was Commander Jason Hayes, the leader of the unit. "What are we dealing with?" Sarah shook herself out of her stupor. It's a signal, sir, but it's not like anything we know. No known language, no familiar technology." Commander Hayes stepped closer, scanning the screen. His experienced eyes darted back and forth across the data. Could it be a distress call from one of our ships? Sarah's fingers hovered over the controls, but she shook her head. Not possible. This is too structured, too precise. It's something else. A moment of silence filled the room. Every eye in the room was on Sarah as she continued to study the mysterious signal. She tried to trace its origin, but it seemed to be coming from multiple sources at once, as if it was everywhere, but nowhere at the same time. Commander Hayes frowned. "Can you decode it?" Sarah worked quickly, her mind racing as she tried to unravel the mystery. But no matter how hard she worked, nothing made sense. The signal was beyond anything humanity had encountered. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the signal stopped. The silence returned, but this time it felt heavier, more oppressive. The control room erupted into murmurs and confusion. Sarah's fingers hovered over the keyboard, trying to make sense of the data. But there was nothing, just an eerie silence. "What happened?" asked Commander Hayes, his voice tight with worry. "I don't know, sir," Sarah replied, her voice trembling. "It just stopped. But there's something strange. The last transmission. It wasn't just a signal. It was a message." The commander leaned over her shoulder, his eyes narrowing at the screen. The data had turned into a string of coded letters, letters that made no sense at all. But Sarah could feel it in her gut. Something wasn't right. She wasn't just seeing a random set of characters. This message, somehow, had been meant for Earth. And worse, it felt like someone, or something, was watching them. Sarah turned to the team, her voice low but urgent. "I need you all to focus. This isn't just some random signal. This is a warning. I know it sounds crazy, but Earth is in danger." The room went silent once again, the weight of her words sinking in. The team exchanged nervous glances. What could this mean? Who would be trying to contact Earth? And why had it stopped so suddenly? Before anyone could voice their questions, the communication systems came to life once more. Another signal, this time much clearer. It wasn't just a garbled mess of numbers and symbols. It was a message in clear, concise words, but not in any language Earth had ever encountered. The words appeared on the screen, one at a time, in a language that felt ancient, yet somehow familiar. "We see you, Earth. You are not ready. You will never be ready." The room fell into stunned silence. Sarah's heart raced. The message didn't make sense. Who were they? And what did "not ready" mean? The words repeated again, this time more forceful, more direct. "You are being watched. You are being judged." Sarah's hands shook as she typed in a translation code, but nothing happened. The message was clear, but it made no sense. How could a civilization out there know about Earth? How could they possibly know they were being watched? Commander Hayes stood tall, trying to remain calm. Send a reply, ask who they are, and what they want. But as Sarah attempted to respond, the transmission cut off completely. No more signals, no more words, just silence. How is that possible? Sarah muttered, staring at the blank screen. The transmission was just here. Where did it go? Commander Hayes clenched his fists. What did they mean? You are being judged. I don't know, sir, Sarah whispered, but I have a feeling this is just the beginning. Outside the window of the command center, Earth's atmosphere hung peacefully, oblivious to the storm about to be unleashed. As the team gathered around, Commander Hayes made a decision. Prepare for a full investigation. This is bigger than anything we've ever faced. Earth is not just being watched. We've caught the attention of something powerful. The mystery of the signal was just the tip of the iceberg. They had no idea who was watching, why they were watching, or what it meant. But one thing was certain, the future of Earth was no longer in their own hands. And deep in space, an ancient presence watched silently, waiting for Earth to make its next move. The silence in the room was suffocating. It wasn't just the absence of the mysterious signal, but something deeper. The team, still reeling from the unexpected message, sat motionless. Every eye in the room was fixed on Sarah Evans, who had just experienced the most bizarre event of her career. Commander Jason Hayes paced in front of the large window that overlooked the vastness of space. The blackness seemed endless, as though the universe itself were holding its breath. His mind raced with questions. Who had sent that message? What did it mean? And why had Earth been targeted? Lieutenant Evans, Hayes said, his voice steady but tense. How sure are you that this message came from outside our solar system? Sarah took a deep breath, her hands still shaking. She glanced at the console, where the faint traces of the signal had once been. I'm sure, sir. There's no mistake. The signal came from a source deep beyond known space. It's not from any known ship or station. A murmur rippled through the room. The uncertainty was palpable. They were used to threats from within their own system, from rival factions or rogue ships. But this was something completely different. This was an external force, and they didn't know how to defend against it. Commander Hayes stopped pacing and turned to face the group. I need all available data on every species and civilization in this galaxy. I want to know who or what could have sent that message. Get me everything. Sarah nodded, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Understood, sir. The hum of computers filled the room as the team scrambled to pull up records of known alien species and galactic activities. But as Sarah ran her search, she quickly found herself hitting dead ends. There were no records of a species or civilization with the kind of technology that could send such a message. No indication that anything out there had ever interacted with Earth. Sir, I'm not finding anything, Sarah said, her voice tinged with frustration. It's like they don't even exist. Commander Hayes furrowed his brow. That's not possible. We've encountered dozens of alien species. You're telling me none of them have any knowledge of this signal? Sarah swallowed, trying to remain calm. It's as if it came from a completely unknown part of the universe, outside of any galactic map we've seen. And no one's ever recorded anything like this before. Hayes crossed his arms, deep in thought. This doesn't make sense. They can't just appear out of nowhere. There has to be a record, a trace, something that tells us who they are. A young officer, Lieutenant Mark Daniels, stepped forward. Sir, what if this isn't the first time? What if Earth has been forgotten or overlooked by the rest of the galaxy? Maybe we're not a priority. Everyone in the room stopped, turning to Daniels. What do you mean? Hayes asked, his tone curious but cautious. Daniels hesitated, glancing at the others for support. I've read old reports, stories from the early days of space exploration. There were rumors, just whispers, that Earth had been deliberately left off galactic maps, that the galaxy's more advanced civilizations didn't want anything to do with us. The room was silent, A chilling thought began to take shape in everyone's mind. Could it be true? Had Earth always been an afterthought in the grand design of the galaxy? Commander Hayes narrowed his eyes. And you believe this? That Earth was intentionally kept out of the loop? That no one wanted us to be part of the galactic community? I don't know, sir, Daniels said, shaking his head. But I think it's possible. Look at us. Look at our history. We're young, we're unpredictable, and we don't follow the rules. Maybe the galaxy doesn't want that kind of influence. Sarah nodded slowly, her mind turning the possibility over. What if we've been watched this whole time? What if this signal is a warning, something more dangerous than we realize? Hayes clenched his fists, his jaw tight. So this isn't just about a signal. This is about something much bigger. Someone's watching us, and they've been waiting for the right moment to act. A shiver ran down Sarah's spine. She had a bad feeling about this. There was more to this story than anyone could see right now. The message, the disappearance of Earth from galactic records. It all pointed to something darker, something that threatened everything humanity had fought for. Hayes stared out the window again, as if searching for an answer in the stars. We need to figure out who is behind this, and why. No matter how long it takes, we have to uncover the truth. Earth is not just another planet, and we are not just another species. Sarah watched him carefully, her own resolve hardening. I'll dig deeper. There has to be something in the archives we're missing. As the team dispersed to search for more answers, Commander Hayes remained standing by the window. The thought of Earth being ignored, forgotten, or worse, deliberately excluded, was a hard pill to swallow. But the implications were too great to ignore. Somewhere out there in the vast expanse of space, someone, or something, was watching. And the universe's deepest fear was yet to be fully realized. The tension in the room had only grown thicker as the hours passed. The signal that had first shocked them was now a faint, unreadable trace on the monitor, slipping between the noise of the universe like an echo lost in space. The more they tried to trace it, the more elusive it became, as if it was deliberately hiding itself from them. Commander Hayes was still staring out the large window, his arms crossed tightly against his chest. His mind was whirling with possibilities. The realization that Earth had been absent from galactic affairs was unsettling. But what unnerved him even more was the feeling that something dark was about to unfold, something far beyond their understanding. This wasn't just a message. This was a warning. Sarah Evans sat at her console, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she searched the galaxy's archives for any clue, any fragment that might explain this mysterious disappearance. She had been working nonstop, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing on her every moment. She had read every available report, pored over old galactic records, and even tapped into restricted files, but all paths led to a dead end. She let out a frustrated sigh and leaned back in her chair, staring at the flickering data on the screen. There's nothing here. No hints, no clues. It's like Earth has just vanished from history. Lieutenant Daniels, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, suddenly spoke up. What if the message isn't just a warning? What if it's something more? What if we're supposed to do something about it? Hayes turned his head toward Daniels. His voice was cold but firm. Do something about it. What exactly would you suggest? Daniels seemed to hesitate for a moment before speaking again. What if this signal is an invitation, a call to action, not just a threat? What if Earth's absence from the Galactic Council is deliberate? And maybe we're being tested. The room went still. Hayes's mind raced. Could it be true? Was this some sort of test, a way for the galactic community to judge humanity's worth before allowing them in? His instincts told him that there was more to this than just a call to arms. This was about proving Earth's place in the galaxy, and if they failed, the consequences could be catastrophic. Sarah turned to Daniels, her face a mixture of confusion and determination. A test? A test of what? Daniels looked down at the floor, lost in thought. A test of our strength, our resilience, our will to survive. Maybe the galaxy has been watching us this whole time, waiting for the moment when we would prove we deserve to be part of the greater whole. But now they want to see if we're ready. They've sent us this signal to see how we respond. Respond. Hayes's voice was sharp. This isn't a game. If they want to test us, they could have chosen a different way. A message isn't enough. We need answers, not riddles. Sarah nodded in agreement. But what if we're not supposed to figure it out alone? What if Earth isn't the only one being tested? She paused, her fingers frozen over the console. The thought was like a bolt of lightning. What if this message is just one piece of a larger puzzle? What if the entire galaxy is about to be thrown into chaos, and Earth is right in the middle of it? Commander Hayes stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he tried to make sense of her words. He walked up to her console, peering over her shoulder at the dim screen that still displayed the faint traces of the signal. "Do you think the rest of the galaxy knows about this?" he asked, his voice low and grave. Sarah hesitated. "I don't know. It's possible. There's no way of knowing for sure. The archives show no record of Earth's involvement in anything significant. It's like we're invisible." Daniel's voice broke through the tension. "But Earth isn't invisible. Someone knows we're here. Someone is watching." Sarah glanced at him, her face growing pale as the gravity of his words sank in. "What are you saying?" "That the message is just the beginning. That we're in danger. I'm saying that whatever happens next, Earth has been marked. We're not just being tested. We're being forced to make a choice." A deep silence followed his words. The weight of the situation seemed to crush them all at once. The threat of the unknown loomed over them, growing larger with each passing second. And yet, the sense of mystery only deepened. Was this a chance for humanity to prove itself, or was it the beginning of something far darker? Commander Hayes was the first to speak after the silence settled. His voice was calm, but there was a hardness to it now. "We're not going to wait around and see what happens. We're going to take action. I want every one of you to dig deeper. Find out everything you can about this signal, and more importantly, about why Earth was left out of the Council." "Understood, sir," Sarah said, her tone determined. "We'll get to the bottom of this." As the team scattered to continue their search, Commander Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The message had come, and the galaxy was watching. But what did it want from Earth? And more importantly, could humanity handle whatever was coming next? The clock was ticking, and the truth was still out there, hidden in the shadows of the galaxy. The tension in the room was palpable. Each member of the team, huddled around their consoles, knew they were on the cusp of something much larger than anything they had anticipated. Commander Hayes stood in front of the large viewport, staring at the endless sea of stars. The night sky, once a source of comfort and wonder, now felt foreboding, as if it held dark secrets they were only beginning to understand. Sarah Evans typed furiously on her keyboard, her mind racing through the data they had uncovered. The mysterious signal was proving more elusive by the minute, but something in the archives had caught her attention, an ancient document hidden deep within the restricted files of the Galactic Council. It was a treaty, one that mentioned Earth in passing, but it was heavily redacted, the details obscured by layers of encryption. She had been able to break through most of the code, but the deeper she dug, the more she realized how carefully this document had been kept hidden. The mention of Earth wasn't just a casual note, it was a warning. Sarah leaned back in her chair, her eyes scanning the decrypted information. She turned to Commander Hayes, who was still staring out into the stars, and spoke in a quiet voice. "I think I found something. It's an old agreement, one that mentions Earth, but it doesn't just mention us as a member of the Galactic Council. There's a clause about our absence." Hayes turned to face her, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean, our absence?" "I think Earth's exclusion from the Council wasn't by accident," Sarah replied, her voice steady but full of disbelief. "This document suggests that at some point in the past, a decision was made to keep Earth out of galactic affairs, but it doesn't explain why." Daniels, who had been quietly reading through the archives alongside Sarah, now stood up. A decision to exclude us. Who made that decision? The council. Sarah nodded. Yes, but it goes deeper than that. The document mentions an ancient alliance, an agreement between the oldest and most powerful races in the galaxy. This alliance created a set of rules to govern interactions between different civilizations. And Earth wasn't invited. It was left out deliberately. The room fell silent, the weight of the revelation sinking in. The idea that Earth, despite its potential, had been deliberately excluded from galactic matters was almost too much to grasp. Why would the Council do this? What had Earth done, or not done, that made them a threat or a liability? Commander Hayes felt his stomach tighten. So, we've been left in the dark, isolated, while the rest of the galaxy moves forward without us. But why? What could Earth have possibly done to earn this kind of treatment? Sarah hesitated, then turned her screen toward Hayes. I think Earth has something that the galaxy fears. Something that the Council couldn't risk letting us be a part of. Hayes stepped closer to the screen, reading the text that appeared before him. It was a clause hidden within the treaty, a clause that was barely legible, almost as if someone had tried to erase it over time. It read, "The Earth, though untouched by the old alliance, holds a power beyond comprehension. Its people are unaware of their true potential, but the moment they discover it, the galaxy will be forever changed. The power must remain dormant, or the balance of the universe will be disrupted." Hayes' pulse quickened. Power. What power? Sarah's face was pale as she turned to face him. That's the question, isn't it? What is this power? And why is the galaxy so terrified of it? Daniel spoke up, his voice barely a whisper. Is it possible that Earth's greatest strength is something we don't even know about? Something that's hidden in our history, or even in our DNA? The thought was chilling. If Earth held a power that the galaxy feared, and if it had been hidden for so long, what would happen if humanity ever discovered it? What kind of power could it be? A weapon? A force of nature? Or something even more dangerous? Something that could upend the very balance of the universe? Hayes looked out into the stars again, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on him. If they were to find the answer, they would need to uncover every secret of Earth's past, and perhaps, more importantly, their future. We need to dig deeper, Hayes said, his voice firm with resolve. We need to find out what this power is, and we need to do it fast. The galaxy has been watching us for too long. The question isn't whether we deserve to be part of this council. It's whether the galaxy is ready for Earth to join. Sarah nodded, determination in her eyes. And if we find this power, what happens then? That's the question, isn't it? Hayes replied. We either prove that Earth is worthy of its place in the galaxy, or we discover that the Council was right to fear us. Commander Hayes sat in silence, his fingers drumming against the arm of his chair. The discovery of the ancient document had shaken him to his core. Earth, a planet he had always seen as small and insignificant compared to the vast reaches of the galaxy, had a power hidden deep within it, so powerful that the oldest and most influential races had conspired to keep humanity from realizing it. But what was this power, and why had it been hidden for so long? Sarah Evans stared at the screen in front of her, still digesting the information they had uncovered. This clause, it's almost as if they were afraid we would one day awaken this power. But why? What is it? And how could something as simple as humanity have such an immense force at its disposal? Daniels leaned over Sarah's shoulder, his eyes scanning the screen with concern. We know that Earth's history is full of myths and stories about ancient powers, but they're just that, stories. What if this power isn't something magical, but something more? Scientific, some kind of technology, or even knowledge, lost to time. Hayes stood up, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. The more we look into this, the more I'm convinced that Earth is sitting on a secret the galaxy has been hiding from us. But if this power is truly as dangerous as they say, then how do we even begin to tap into it without unleashing something we can't control? His thoughts were interrupted by a soft ping from his console. It was a message, an encrypted one, from an unknown source. For a moment, Hayes hesitated. After everything that had happened, who could be trusted? But curiosity got the best of him, and he opened the message. It was short and to the point. The key lies within Earth's history. The answer is in the past, where the first seeds of this power were sown. You must search where the old stories begin. Hayes's brow furrowed. Old stories. What could that mean? He muttered aloud. Sarah turned to him. We've already established that Earth's history is full of myths and legends. Maybe this is a clue. Perhaps it's referring to something hidden within our past, something the galaxy doesn't want us to find. Daniels was pacing nervously. But the old stories. Earth's history is riddled with legends of gods, kings, and lost civilizations. It could be anything. Are we seriously expected to sift through millennia of human history to find a single clue? Hayes clenched his fists. We don't have a choice. The galaxy has kept us in the dark for too long. We need to find out what this power is, and why it terrifies the Council so much. The team quickly mobilized, each of them working to dig deeper into the history of Earth. They combed through ancient texts, forgotten languages, and archaeological sites long abandoned. Every corner of human history seemed to hold fragments of the story they were trying to piece together. But as they delved deeper, the more questions began to arise. Some of the oldest texts spoke of a primordial force, a hidden energy that could reshape the very fabric of the universe. These texts were vague, their meanings blurred by time and translation, but the consistency of the references to this force was undeniable. Sarah found one particularly troubling piece of information, buried in a series of ancient prophecies. The first dawn will awaken the power of the Forgotten One. It read. The Forgotten One was mentioned in several ancient civilizations, but no one had ever been able to identify who or what it was referring to. Was it a person, a creature, or perhaps a force itself? The more they searched, the clearer it became that this primordial force was not just a metaphor. It was a tangible, potent energy, waiting to be unlocked. As the team continued to investigate, a chilling thought began to creep into Hayes's mind. What if Earth's hidden power wasn't just a natural force, but something created, something manufactured by ancient beings far more advanced than humanity could ever imagine? What if Earth had been a laboratory or a battleground for this incredible power, and the Galactic Council had merely kept humanity in the dark to prevent the discovery? They had to know the truth. Commander Hayes sat back down in his chair, exhaustion settling in. He was no closer to answers, but the pieces were starting to fall into place. The primordial force had been mentioned in countless ancient texts. It was something the earliest humans had known about, something that the galaxy had feared for eons. And now, humanity had to find it before anyone else did. Suddenly, an alert flashed on the screen in front of him. It was a communication from an unknown source, but it wasn't encrypted like the last message. This one was clear. The first dawn is approaching. You are too late. The galaxy will know the truth, whether you are ready or not. Hayes's heart skipped a beat. The first dawn. Could it be referring to the awakening of this ancient power? And if so, what did it mean for Earth? Was the galaxy truly ready for humanity to rise and take its place? His mind raced with possibilities, but one thing was clear. The clock was ticking. The galaxy's deepest fear was no longer something whispered in the shadows. It was about to be exposed to the universe, and whether humanity was ready or not, the galaxy would soon learn just how powerful Earth truly was. The atmosphere on the command ship was tense as Commander Hayes, Sarah Evans, and the rest of the crew continued to race against time. The message had been clear, and it only deepened the mystery of Earth's hidden power. The galaxy had been in the dark for centuries, but now humanity was getting closer to discovering the truth. Yet, despite all their efforts, they had no idea what they were truly up against. Hayes stood in front of the large holographic display, his brow furrowed in thought. He could feel the weight of the decision they were about to make pressing down on him. The first dawn, an ancient prophecy, was no longer a distant legend. It was becoming real. The team had uncovered more fragments, each one pointing to the same conclusion. Earth's power was tied to something much older than any civilization had realized. It was a force that predated even the first galactic empires. Sarah approached, her eyes scanning the information flashing on the screen. "Commander, we've found references to a device. It was called the Catalyst in some of the older texts, but no one knows what it is or where it's located. However, we do know that it's connected to the First Dawn." Hayes nodded. "The Catalyst. It sounds like a key, something that will unlock this power. But what kind of device could possibly channel this much energy?" Daniels, who had been quietly analyzing the data, chimed in. "It could be a weapon, or it could be something much more destructive. The texts are too vague, and every source we found contradicts the other. But all of them mention one thing. The catalyst is hidden beneath Earth's surface, deep within the planet's core." The realization hit them like a shockwave. Earth's power didn't just exist in legends and stories. It was buried, waiting to be unleashed. The catalyst wasn't a myth. It was real. And now, it seemed like Earth was about to awaken it, whether the galaxy was ready or not. "How do we even begin to find this catalyst?" Sarah asked, her voice tinged with worry. "Earth's core is impossible to reach with our current technology. We'll have to go to the source," Hayes replied, determination in his voice. "The only way to find out where this catalyst is hidden is to get on the ground. We need to move quickly." The crew gathered around a table, planning their next move. They had to go to Earth. No longer just a remote planet on the edge of the galaxy, Earth was now the epicenter of a mystery that could change everything. The power that had been hidden for so long was now within their grasp, but what would they find once they reached it? Hours later, the team stood at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, watching the planet from the viewing deck of their command ship. The familiar blue and green orb below seemed peaceful, oblivious to the storm brewing above. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The universe was full of unseen forces, and something told her that the moment they landed, they wouldn't be alone. "I hope we're ready for whatever we find down there," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. Hayes nodded. "We don't have much choice. If the galaxy finds out what we're about to uncover, everything could change." The crew descended through the atmosphere, landing near a long-abandoned military base in the desert. The base had been inactive for decades, but it was the only location they could find that had any trace of the catalyst's possible origins. As they disembarked, Hayes looked around, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of activity. The air was thick with dust and silence. The vast desert stretched out before them, empty and unwelcoming. But it was the perfect place to hide something this important. The catalyst wasn't meant to be found. "Stay alert," Hayes ordered as they began their search. "We don't know what kind of security measures might still be in place." As they ventured deeper into the abandoned base, the eerie silence continued to press down on them. The walls of the facility were covered in dust, the remnants of a time long past. But in the heart of the base, they found what they had been searching for: a hidden chamber, sealed tight by a complex system of locks and codes. "Whatever's in there, it's important," Sarah said as she approached the chamber's entrance. "This has to be the catalyst." With a few quick keystrokes, Daniels hacked into the chamber system, bypassing the security measures with ease. The door opened with a low hiss, revealing the contents of the room. Inside, illuminated by the faint glow of ancient lights, was a massive device. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was organic in appearance, a massive structure that seemed to pulse with energy. At its core was a crystal that glowed with a brilliant light, as if it were alive. It was beautiful, yet terrifying. "Is this it?" Daniels whispered, his voice barely audible. Hayes stepped forward, his hand reaching out toward the crystal. This is the catalyst, and with it, we can awaken the power of Earth. But as his fingers brushed against the surface of the crystal, something shifted. A low hum filled the room, and the air grew thick with energy. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and the room seemed to come alive. The catalyst was waking. For a moment, they all stood frozen, unsure of what to do next. The power was within their grasp, but the true cost of unleashing it was still a mystery. As the glow of the catalyst grew brighter, Hayes knew that they had only scratched the surface of a much larger story, one that could change the fate of Earth and the galaxy forever. The room shuddered as the catalyst pulsed with increasing intensity, its eerie glow flooding the chamber. The energy was undeniable. Hayes, Sarah, and Daniel stood frozen, unsure of what was happening. The air itself seemed to hum with an otherworldly vibration, as though the very fabric of reality was trembling beneath their feet. This can't be good," Sarah whispered, taking a cautious step back. Commander Hayes, however, stood rooted to the spot, his eyes locked on the glowing crystal at the center of the catalyst. His hand hovered just above the surface, as if drawn to it by some unseen force. The energy in the room was palpable, vibrating through their bodies, making the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. "Stay calm," Hayes ordered, his voice firm, though his heart was pounding. "We don't know what this will do, but we need to find out." But as the energy intensified, a sudden shift occurred. The walls of the chamber seemed to ripple and warp as if they were being distorted by the very power of the catalyst. A blinding flash of light erupted from the crystal, and for a split second, the room was filled with a deafening roar that seemed to come from all directions. Then, as quickly as it had all started, everything fell silent. The glow of the catalyst dimmed, leaving only a faint hum in the air. The room settled back into stillness, but the feeling of power still hung heavily in the air, like a storm waiting to break. Hayes and his team slowly exhaled, the tension still thick among them. What had just happened? Had they activated the catalyst, or had something else happened altogether? "We've made contact," Daniel said cautiously, his eyes fixed on the device. "But I don't understand. What was that?" Sarah took a step forward, her voice low and uncertain. "That power, it felt like it was reaching for something. But what? What if we've just unleashed something we can't control?" Before Hayes could respond, a soft voice broke through the silence. It wasn't coming from any of them, but from somewhere deeper within the room. The voice was faint at first, but it grew louder, more distinct, until it became undeniable. "Welcome, humans." The voice resonated through their minds, sending a chill down their spines. It was ancient, deep, old, and filled with an eerie authority. Hayes's heart raced. Who was this, and how did they know they were humans? "Who are you?" Hayes demanded, his voice tense. "What is this place?" The voice responded with a deep, resonant echo. "I am the Guardian. The catalyst is but a fragment of what lies beneath this planet. You have awakened what should not have been disturbed." Sarah's eyes widened. "You mean the catalyst? It's not just a weapon, is it? It's a key to something far worse." "Far worse," the Guardian's voice confirmed. "You have unlocked the power of Earth, the very force that kept your galaxy in balance for eons. But with that power comes a cost. The catalyst was never meant for your kind." Hayes clenched his fists, trying to steady his breath. "We didn't mean to awaken anything. We just needed to understand. We're trying to protect Earth from the Galactic Council. And now, you do not understand the consequences of your actions," the Guardian interrupted, its voice now echoing throughout the room. "You believe your battle is with the Galactic Council, but you are wrong. The true enemy has always been hidden within your own planet. The catalyst is not just a weapon of power. It is a prison. And you have opened the gate." Hayes felt his stomach drop. "A prison? What are you talking about?" The voice grew darker, its tone filled with a deep, chilling foreboding. The catalyst was created to hold back an ancient enemy, an entity that was once sealed beneath your planet. It is a being of unimaginable power, a force that seeks to consume all. And now, it is free. For a moment, everything was silent. The team stood frozen, absorbing the gravity of what the Guardian had just revealed. They had awakened something, something far beyond their understanding. "Is it too late?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. The Guardian's voice softened, as if pitying them. "It may already be too late. But if you wish to stand against the coming darkness, you must unlock the true power of the catalyst. Only then can you fight what you have unleashed." Hayes turned to his team, his mind racing. The Guardian had spoken of an ancient enemy, an unimaginable force that had been sealed away beneath the very ground they stood on. They had awoken it, and now they had no choice but to face it. "We can't turn back now," Hayes said, determination setting in his voice. "We have to find a way to stop this enemy before it destroys everything." "We'll need more than just this catalyst," Daniels replied, looking over at the glowing crystal. "We need to understand its full power, everything it can do. And we need to get ready for what's coming," Sarah added, her voice grim, "because the universe won't wait for us to figure it out." With their mission now clear, the team began to make preparations. They had awakened Earth's hidden power, but they had also unleashed something far worse. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy itself, now rested on their shoulders.